Good morning and welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. I'm Tony Haggerty at Haggerty10 on the Twitter handle, and I'm joined today by joined by Ryan McGinlay at the Ryan McGinlay on his Twitter handle. I was getting excited there, Ryan, because I've got a special guest, as you can see.
That's it. You're in company. You're in company. I can see why you get a wee bit nervous.
And for those of you who saw my tweet last night, I said I had a special guest, and I said, well, I couldn't reveal who, it was more a what. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a Champions League trophy, and I have to say a huge thank you on Champions League draw day to a member of the Celtic family called John Flanagan and his wonderful partner Claire, who bought this for John Flanagan, who tunes into the pod, an avid watcher of the Daily Morning Briefing and a subscriber to the Celtic Way, and he offered me this on loan for Champions League draw day, and I'm sitting beside a European Cup, and it feels absolutely wonderful. And and if you want to know a wee bit of history, because we all do, if you know your history, Billy McNeill was the first captain to lift that actual version of the trophy, because the original version of the European Cup was donated to Real Madrid because they'd won it so many times, and this was the new trophy that was designed. And Billy McNeill's hands in Lisbon in the Estadio Nacional in '67 were the first hands on it. And the Lisbon Lions, Celtic got 4 coefficient points for the Lisbon Lions, the contribution, and that contribution keeps them ahead of Turkish teams. Galatasaray are one of the 8 sides below Celtic near for top 10 rankings, and the Lisbon Lions helped Celtic bank €1.1 million in revenue. And I saw a wonderful tweet last night, Ryan, from E-Tims, and I'll credit E-Tims, and he said, wouldn't it be wonderful if Celtic donated a portion of that money to the rest of the Lisbon Lions that are still alive and their families? And I thought, what a wonderful idea, because so many years after they've won, 57 years since Celtic won the trophy, 56 years, they are still contributing to the coefficient and bringing money into the club's coffers. And I think that would be a wonderful idea if Celtic donated a portion of that money to the Lisbon Lions that are still with us and members of their family. I big up E-Tims for that. But this is a wonderful piece of kit. So thank you to John Flanagan and his partner Claire. And there you go. What about that, Ryan?
I was about to say, if you hear a knocking on the door or a knocking on Tony's side, it's Pep Guardiola and Erling Haaland looking for that trophy back because you've taken it off him for the day. But no, it's great that you've got a replica of the trophy. It looks absolutely tremendous. And what better way to have it in the background than when Celtic find out who they're going to face in the Champions League? You know, it's a competition that Celtic have got a lot of history and a lot of really good results over the years, including, of course, the European Cup win. But they did get to another final as well against Feyenoord, and I think it was a semi-final as well they got to. You know,
2 semi-finals. Yep.
You know, I always find that these don't get talked about as much. I know Celtic didn't get to the final in those years, or they get put out in that stage, but it's still a tremendous achievement that team at that point was such a regular in the latter stages of the Champions League. I think it should get talked about more. I think it's not as good as winning it, but you know, still a really good achievement when you look at the good sides that were around at that time. So Ryan, yeah, it's if you know your history, basically.
I wasn't around at that time, but I still got annoyed at the fact that Celtic lost to Feyenoord in 1970 and lost the World Club Championship final in 67 against Racing Club. Still irks me when I see footage of it. I just
it irks you and you weren't even there. I love that,
and it still annoys me. I would love to have supported a club who, for 1 year, would have been classed as the World Club champions. How good's that? But there you go. But
it's got prestige to it as well.
Yeah, I mean, you just sit here and you look at that and you just feel the whole full weight of history. You know, coming down on you. You see it if you know your history, and this. It's actually it's quite moving and emotional to be sitting beside a trophy of that magnitude. It's mental, to be honest. But again, another indication of the Celtic family and John Flanagan and his partner Claire. It was Claire that bought it for John, and I went down the other day and picked it up, and they couldn't have been any nicer. And he just said, look, just think it'd be a good thing to have in the background for Champions League draw day. And it's Champions League draw day, Ryan. Celtic flying the flag for Scottish clubs in Europe. Rangers were knocked out last night by PSV. Don't particularly want to dwell on that, but Celtic are now officially the only Scottish club in the group stage of the Champions League.
The last ever group stage as well. This is the final version of this.
Yep. And so, yes, the draw today, around about 4:45, 5 o'clock in the Grimaldi Forum in Monaco. You know what these things are like. They take an eternity to kick off, don't they? The longest
Here was
time.
the best defender of last season. And here was the best goalkeeper of last season. You're like, come on, let's get it going. And then but the thing is, they do them, and I think they do them, and then they do a group, a pot after every single one. So it is a wee bit streamlined, so it's not as bad as what it used to be. But yeah, it's still exciting. You've got to be in it to. I don't think Celtic are going to win it, but you've got to be in it to win it, and I'm glad that Celtic are in that draw. I'm more excited than I was a couple of days ago, I would say.
I've said all week, Ryan, that I don't care who they draw. I just want to be there and strutting your stuff on the biggest club football stage of them all in European football, and that's the Champions League group stage. So, yep, bring it on. We'll embrace it as we go along. But Ryan, some wonderful signing news yesterday. Luis Palma's in the building. Nat Phillips might be joining him. Paulo Bernardo might be joining him. We'll talk about all of this. But I guess because the European Cup's sitting right beside me, you've got a wonderful graphic, Ryan, haven't you?
I do, yes. That's why we were a wee bit later this morning. I was converting it into a PDF so that it could get shown on the video stream. I'll just pull it up just now. We've got all the teams that Celtic could face. Obviously Celtic are in pot 4, they can't face any of the other teams in pot 4. So thank goodness no Newcastle United coming to Celtic Park. They look quite a ferocious team in the past couple of years. But yeah, I think looking at that, you look at all the big teams there. You've got to be in it to win it with teams like this. You want to, and it's you can have a different mentality. There's so many different mentalities you can go in for this. You can maybe pick a more favourable draw. I'll never say an easy draw because you'll never get that in the Champions League. They're all good teams in Champions League. That's why they're there. That's why it's called the Champions League. Although there are some non-champions in there, but they are good teams. They all deserve their place. But you can get more favourable draws than others. It's
I'm declaring my hand. I'm declaring my hand early, Ryan. I'm praying that Celtic get Napoli because you know how much of a Diego Armando Maradona fan I am.
Oh my goodness!
And I asked the boss if Celtic draw Napoli, can I go? And he said to me, probably, yeah. He's looking at maybe sending me. So in a purely selfish and personal reasons, I just want to do the pilgrimage to the Diego
we're going to get Man City in that
Stadium.
pot.
Yeah, of course. Listen, I just thought I would throw that in there early, just declare my hand. Obviously, I prefer a favourable draw. Like yourself, I want Celtic to be as competitive as they can be in the Champions League in a favourable draw. But from pot 1, I'm declaring my hand early. Napoli, and then the chips may fall where they fall, and I'm going to badger the boss to go to Naples if that's the case and see if he lets me go. I would shuffle off this earth a happy man, Ryan, if I could do that. Covering
bucket list stuff.
Covering my team in a stadium with one of my iconic football heroes. I would love to do that.
And you talk about Napoli, it would be a good tie as well, especially due to the fact that I don't think Napoli, now this could be famous last words here, but Napoli changed their manager last season, Luciano Spalletti. He took a year's sabbatical. I think is he the new Italy manager? I'm sure. I think he replaced Roberto Mancini because Mancini joined Saudi Arabia's national team. That's quite the coup for Saudi Arabia to get him as their manager, that's for sure. But I think they've got, who's their manager's name again? It is the Rudy Garcia, who's their manager. I think that's Rudy a wee bit of a step down in terms of managers, in terms of play styles. I think Napoli, I know it's crazy to say this, but that would be one of the more favourable ones in that group of teams. But it's only favourable to an extent. They're all difficult teams to come up against. That pot 2, I mean, Real Madrid in pot 2, that seems sacrilegious almost. Why are they in pot 2? Ridiculous.
I mean, I'm only saying that as a purely personal and selfish reason, but ideally, from pot 1, you want Feyenoord or Sevilla, maybe.
I think everyone said Everyone said
or Benfica.
Feyenoord, Porto, and Feyenoord,
Yeah.
Porto, and let me have a wee look. Shakhtar maybe, because they still play in Poland, I would presume.
Red Star or Copenhagen.
Or Copenhagen as well. I'm delighted to see that Copenhagen are back in the group stage. They're one of the teams that I remember.
Guys, throw your preferences in the comment section, and we'll flick a few of them up. As I say, I know people don't want Napoli because they're a good team. It's for a bit of the football romanticist in me, Ryan and the dreamer. That's all. But if I'm being practical and I want Celtic to get through the group, of course I want Feyenoord and Porto and Red Star and stuff like that. So, and I think Celtic are maybe due the luck of the draw. They've had some horrors, haven't they, over the years?
Absolutely.
But we'll see what transpires.
Just as a sort of side point, I think it's quite interesting to see pot 4. There's a lot of teams that I would normally associate with playing in the Europa League that have made it into the Champions League. You look at teams like Young Boys. I know they've played in the Champions League a couple of times over the years. Antwerp as well. Sofia Dad have made a return to the Champions League. You see the effect of that on the Europa League as well. You look at the teams that are in there. You get your Manchester United, you get Liverpool, Olympiacos, teams that are basically stalwarts in the Champions League now playing their trade in the Europa League. It's very, very interesting to see the dynamic of football in general, just because of where teams face. It's ever changing football. I don't think it's as rigid as what it used to be. Teams go up and down, and you're seeing that now.
Yeah, lots of people putting their preferences in there. Gerard Doherty, Feyenoord, Porto, Copenhagen. Good.
That's the one. We are not getting that draw. I guarantee you.
Man City, Real Madrid and Milan.
That's probably what we'll get.
People having a go at me because I want Napoli, but I've explained my rationale behind that. So, a couple other people. Feyenoord. These are going very fast, so I'm trying to flick up. Benfica, Man United, and Red Star, says David Kerr.
That's a real historic group.
Yeah. Man City, Real Madrid, Milan. He's saying, there you go.
All Benfica, Champions League winners in that group.
Yeah. Yep. Benfica, Porto, PSV, says Robert Spence. Throw your comments in there and we'll try and flick them up. But just excited for the draw. I always am excited to see Celtic's name in the Champions League draw. I just think it's wonderful. Welsh Courtland saying Benfica, Porto, Salzburg and Celtic. That's what he wants. Lots of people going for the Feyenoord, Porto and Copenhagen.
Yeah. I know we're trying to manifest it into reality, but the chances of that happening are slim as it is.
Yes, indeed. And Stuart Dixon comes in with, we will realistically get the hardest draw possible. There you go. So that's Celtic's luck in the draws past few years. But you want a battle of Britain, Ryan? Do you fancy a Man U and Arsenal? Man City?
I do want to go to maybe one or two of the away days, to be honest. So I mean, I know you've got Napoli earmarked. That's me sorted. But I think if you're looking to get to an away game, then it's probably easier to go to one down maybe in London or Manchester. You know, I look at Man United. It's always a historic tie. Celtic v Man United. I instantly think of Nakamura. When you think of those two teams put together, that free kick will stay. I think that'll always be in the top 10, top 5 goals that Celtic have ever scored. But you can say what free kick against Man United, because he scored 2 of them. Yeah. You know, people don't talk about the one at Old Trafford where he completely plants Van der Sar, a great goalkeeper, a really tall goalkeeper as well, to the spot. But that one at home is just, it's iconic. It stays with you.
What is it they say, Ryan? Once is lucky, twice is showboating.
That's true. And Brown Warrior says, I think of Boric, that is true. Every bit as much as the free kick that was scored by Nakamura, the save from Boric on Luis Saha's
penalty. Yeah, never heard a roar like that ever for a goal not being scored. One of the few times I've actually heard a roar go up, penalty save. And it was like Celtic had just scored. It was incredible. That was another incredible night. Been many incredible nights. And sorry,
who was it that said that they weren't confident about Luis Saha going up and taking the spot kick? Was it Gary Neville or was it Wayne Rooney? I think it was one of the two that said that to one of the Celtic players. That's a story that came out in years in the years that followed. But Luis Saha, really, really good striker in his own right. Just injuries hampered his career, but what a striker! But he was he was beaten by Arthur Boric, who was a man possessed that night, you could say, when it comes to taking a phenomenal penalty kick saver. Phenomenal stuff from him. Man United, historic tie. Arsenal, I think that's a big one as well. They're a pot 2 team. That's crazy considering how good they were in the Premier League last season and the players that they've managed to bring in this season. I wouldn't mind an English team. I think those games take care of themselves. You get that rivalry, Scotland-England. And it's easy to go to. So, I think we'll take whoever, and we'll see what happens when the cards fall, when the dates fall. But yeah, this is the exciting part. You can do a fantasy booking.
We're speculating just now. Come 6 o'clock tonight, we'll be back on here saying, something like, will be like up there somewhere. So, but yeah, I think you just want to be as competitive as possible, Ryan, don't you? For the Champions League group stage, and do a wee bit better than we did last year. 2 points from a group that contained Real Madrid, Shakhtar and RB Leipzig, just hoping to make a better show of it. So, yeah. And the good news continues, Ryan. Lots of activity yesterday, supposed activity as well, but Luis Palma's in the building. You were a busy man on Twitter yesterday putting up clips and the wonderful Stuart Ross's scouting report of Luis Palma is on the site if you want to have a look at that. And I was derelict in my duty because I was just so excited because I'm sitting beside a piece of history that I forgot to tell everybody, if you enjoy what we do, then help us keep providing the free videos by supporting top quality journalism, covering the club you love, and it's all for the touch of a button. And if you click www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe, £4 for 4 months is the current deal. You'll find something on there for everybody. Big interviews by myself, some YouTube videos, top 5 Celtic moments, which we've launched. Ryan diving into Stats Bomb and various other stuff like newsletters, Stuart Ross's scouting pieces on players, the wonderful Alan Morrison doing his thing as well, Duco James on the site. So there's something for everybody on the website. We always ask you every day to help us, and you'll be helping supporting top quality journalism in the process. Click that button, guys, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Ryan, Luis Palma, you like the look of him, don't you?
Luis Palma, Celtic's new number 7. That sounds pretty good to me. I don't know about you, it sounds good to me. Yeah, excited about this one. It seems to have went quite quickly from when Celtic were linked. I think it was last week or maybe the week before. I think it was maybe even last week. It's been a slow week, but then you've got to look at the fact that there's things to be, work permits to be sorted, international clearance, etc., etc. All these buzzwords that you hear when you sign international players. The main thing is he's in the building now. I wonder if he'll be training today. I presume he will be. There'll be pictures probably this afternoon of his first training session with Celtic. Yeah, he looks like an impact player. Scores goals, makes goals, can take a set piece. I've already said it on Twitter. I said it on Twitter last night. If he's fit, if he's ready, you throw him straight in at the deep end on Saturday. You've bought a player for £3.54 million. Play him. Celtic need a boost. I think they've got a boost from the fact they're in the Champions League. And they'll be further boosted by the fact that there's players coming in, reinforcements are coming. It feels like the cavalry has arrived now. That all these players are coming in. We're getting some help. Celtic are getting some help on that front on both the offensive and defensive end of the park. So yeah, if he's ready, if he's available, then I would fling him straight in at Ibrox. What an opportunity to make yourself an instant hero. He will be absolutely desperate to make a massive impact, especially away from home. There's no away fans. It'll be against him. It'll be 50,000 fans that want him to lose, basically. So yeah, if he is available, I'd fling him straight in. I said it before, I might be repeating myself, but what an opportunity it is to make a massive instant impact for your new team.
Correct. Francis P. Green comes in, free kick specialist. We've all saw the YouTube highlights. Yep, indeed.
Set
Hazel
piece,
Finn Morning, he's new boy Palmer. He's supposed to be good at free kicks. Yep. Alan Robertson, heavy jersey, the number 7. Let's hope he's up for the job. Well, there's only one way to find out, isn't there? And Specky Hot Dog 84 Anderson, Palmer's free kicks, I've been saying, looking forward to seeing the lad play. I think we're all looking forward to seeing Palmer play. And when you go around,
yeah, it's quite interesting that 7 wasn't his first choice, according to reports in the media. He wanted number 17, but Mike Nawrowski's already taken that number, and I'm not going to tell Mike Nawrowski what to do. The guy, he's a big lad. I think it would take a lot for him to take his number off in 2 minutes after coming in the door, but I think 7's not too bad a replacement number or a backup number to take. What an iconic number, especially for wingers in the past. You think of wingers, you think of Jinky Johnson. Not comparing the two for a start, but if you can do a quarter of what Jimmy Johnson did for Celtic, then he'll be on to something.
Go and rise to that challenge. You've got an iconic jersey. Become another iconic player in the pantheon of Celtic greats, and strut your stuff and do your thing. And I think he should be buoyed by that. I think he should see that as a privilege and an honour to wear that number 7 jersey, coveted number 7 jersey. And I think everybody likes the look of him. Again, the proof will be when you see him in the flesh. But what a chance, what an opportunity. If he's pitched straight in, I would pitch him straight in, I've got to be honest, I would. And go and make yourself an instant hero, and never look back. And go and do, you're not being asked to do anything, I keep saying it, that's alien to your nature. You're just going asked to be the player that Celtic signed for a hefty financial outlay and just continue on that kind of trajectory that your career's taken you. And I think Ibrox is, I agree with Brendan Rodgers, it's probably the best place to go and make your debut. As you say, with 52,000 against you, you'll get a real feel for what it is and what you're about on Sunday. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity for Palmer to go and strut his stuff on, one of the biggest derbies in world football, and on a stage where you think you should be. So go and grab that opportunity with both hands, or both feet, as they say. So there you go. But also, Nat Phillips is on loan from Liverpool. Looks like a season-long loan deal, Ryan. Now, you were quite delighted about that yesterday as well. You were a busy bee, as I said, on social media yesterday on the Twitter channel. But
no days off.
Nat 24/7. Nat Phillips is son of Jimmy Phillips, who turned out for Rangers in the 1980s, didn't he? I think briefly. But certainly an accomplished defender, Ryan, isn't he? From what you've seen of him, and everybody was putting up that clip from the San Siro, weren't they, when he did the kind of pirouette and turn, and it was as cool as you like in the box. And but Jurgen Klopp rates him as a quality player, was the official quote from Jurgen Klopp, a quality player. So let's hope Celtic can get that one over the line, but it seems to be encouraging that will go through. Everybody's saying he's flown up to Glasgow and he's just put the finishing touches on a year-long loan deal. You happy with that?
Yeah, I think that's roundabout probably the safest option that Celtic could have got, and one of the best as well. I think the fact that he's only played 60 senior games, you've got to put that to one side and realise, he's trying to break into the Liverpool team. Easier said than done. Although he did break into the Liverpool team in a season of crisis for the team when it was the 2021 season. Yeah, all of his highlights are when there was no fans in the stadium, so it was a wee bit haunting to see those clips again. You see the stadium, you see the San Siro without any spectators. It reminds me of when Celtic played there. I think the 4-2 game when they went 2-0 up and nobody was confident that they were going to get a result even when they were 2-0 up. That was the territory that Celtic faced at that time. That was a really dark time in the season that will not be mentioned. It gets mentioned a lot when it comes out of my mouth. But yeah, he's a guy that seemed to thrive in the chaos that was going on around him at Liverpool at that point, because I think it was Van Dijk that was out long term with that ACL injury. I remember he picked it up against Everton, and Nat Phillips had to come in. Ben Davies also got signed because of that as well. He was linked to Celtic and then went to Rangers, but it was Nat Phillips that was actually in the team ahead of Ben Davies.
Kept him out the side,
him
didn't
and
he?
I think it was Ozan Kabak as well, the German defender that was also in the back. I think he's either German or Turkish. He's one of the two. I know he played for Schalke in Germany. I don't know if his nationality is German, though it might be Turkish. I think it might be. But yeah, he got plenty of games that season. He's 6'3". He's a good header of the ball. You know, he takes no prisoners. When he headers the ball, he certainly he's like a salmon almost when he's jumping for that ball. I think there's that one. He just goes right over the guy with the header. He's desperate. I think he would header his gran, honestly, with the amount of heading that he does. But
steady.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, it should be a good loan deal. I think it's a good short-term option, and yeah, if it does work out and he wants to stay, then it could be a good potential one for a long-term deal if an agreement could be reached between the two clubs. But yeah, delighted with this loan deal. It shouldn't take too long to acclimatise to things, and yeah, I'm pretty pleased with this loan appointment of a player.
Brown Warrior coming in. Morning, Brown Warrior, how you doing? That's perhaps the most important signing at Tony and Ryan. He's talking about Nat Phillips. I agree with that. I just think that was the most important gap to plug. I know you might say left back as well, but certainly going in with a central defender who does exactly what he says in the tin, you're a wee bit more secure in that knowledge, aren't you?
Recognised Champions League defender as well. He's played in the Champions League for Liverpool. That's big.
Big Nat, with the muscles there. There we go. And Francis PC Green, Big Nat and Lagerbielka just might be a good partnership. You'll find out on Sunday. And then Kirsty O'Connor comes in and says she started singing the PR song yesterday when I mentioned his son's name.
Sydney.
Sydney. Yeah. Hazel Finn saying Nat Phillips is exactly what Celtic need straight in on Sunday. We did discuss that earlier in the week, didn't we, Ryan? When we were full of positivity and saying if Palma came in and a central defender came in, we would throw them straight into the team at Ibrox. Nothing's changed in my mind. Then, obviously, Celtic are also still possibly trying to recruit Paulo Bernardo on a loan deal with a possible option to buy. He's contracted to Benfica to 2027 with a reputed €100 million release clause. But Celtic maybe trying to go down the Jota route again.
That valuation down a wee bit,
yeah. And I wrote a newsletter piece on that. I'll put it in the comment section for you guys to read. It's on the website. Here it is. There it is. And I'm making the point that drinking from the Benfica well again makes sound business sense. If both teams have done business with Jota before, and I'm asking if could he be the next Portuguese Celtic superstar? Could lightning strike twice, kind of thing. But I'm quite interested in that one, Ryan. I'd like to think that would go through as well.
Yeah,
and Celtic seem to have did their due diligence on this one because he's highly rated, but just he's made 17 appearances since he played against Bayern Munich. I think made his debut in the Champions League in a 5-2 defeat against Bayern Munich 2021. So he said 17 at first team appearances, saying a bit like Jota, a real academy prodigy, but just not first team ready for Benfica, but certainly could do a turn for Celtic. And I hope that's another one that Celtic managed to get the business done. And I think Benfica are thinking it's mutually beneficial. They were both winners out the Jota deal, weren't they? Both Celtic and Benfica. Nobody lost in that deal at all, did they? It was just a brilliant 2 years and both were quids in at the end of it. So what can you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Celtic were a wee bit more winners than Benfica. I think Benfica really shot themselves in the foot with that option to buy.
The initial 6.5 million. Yeah,
I know they got the sell-on clause, which meant that they did make more than they made more of what they probably would have made off of them.
Yeah.
So they kind of helped themselves in that regard. These teams are so good with sell-on clauses. there is a reason why these development. I'm not going to call Benfica a development team actually, because they're more than that. They're a historic club, but they are one of Europe's best sort of, not a feeder club, but a team that develops young talent and brings them through, especially young Portuguese talent. But they buy from further afield as well. They play them in games. They blood them in really, really young. And then because they play in the Portuguese league, because they've got Benfica attached to their name, automatically their name is their value is so much bigger because of that. Look at Enzo Fernandez. He was playing for Benfica, had a great World Cup for Argentina, and then goes for just under 100 million to Chelsea. It's brilliant business from Benfica. I don't think it's a slight on Celtic at all that they keep on going back to Manchester City and Benfica's youth teams, because these are what Celtic should aspire to be. In all honesty, they should try and mirror these two teams, especially. You can look at teams like PSV, Ajax, etc. as well. These are what Celtic should be aspiring to.
Yeah.
And I know it's quite disappointing with some of the youth players recently leaving the club. Looks like Rocco Vata could be another one of those that leave before the end of the window. But these are the teams that Celtic should be mirroring and trying to be like, or be the best that they can be, because they're really doing a great job just now, particularly Benfica. I mean, their reach of players from different places is absolutely incredible, and that goes along with a great development side too.
I think also as well, Ryan, you know, for years clubs like Celtic bemoaned the fact that our young players were being taken by foreign clubs like Benfica and Ajax and then just getting lost to swallowed into the system. But I think Celtic can now use the option to buy clause to reverse that trend. You know, they've did it with Jota. Hopefully they can do it with Bernardo. Jota was a special case because he came and fell in love with the club and all that, but that's not to say it won't happen to someone like Bernardo or players of that ilk. So Celtic can get them, as you say, for prices within their range, £5, £6, £7 million players. And these are quality players. Yeah, they might be young, but they ain't project players. They're first team ready. Just not ready for their parent clubs, but they can certainly do a job at Celtic, and we get them at that. Celtic get them at that optimum time. As you say, get a good couple of years out of them. We've spoken about this before, and then sell them on if they use the option to buy clause wisely. Parent club sets a high-ish, 25 to 30% sell-on fee. Then everyone's a winner, and I think that's a great way for Celtic to start looking to do business as well, because you can profit and benefit. And as you say, if Man City and the likes of Benfica are clubs that you're targeting, then it could become a wonderful arrangement, because you have got a lot to offer. I've said this before. You've got one of the best derbies, most recognisable derbies in world football, and at this moment in time, Celtic can offer players Champions League group stage football, and you hope that cycle of success can continue. And that's the same way you entice players. Say, look, you will get your chance to play up until the end of this season. It was 6 games. It will now be 8 games from next season.
Massive.
That's a real showcase for any young talent. If they come to Celtic, say, look, you'll play 8 games on the biggest stage in world football. Go and grab that bull by the horns and show everybody why you're here and be a star. And I just think Celtic, have stolen a marks with that and started to do that wisely. So I'm quite excited about what could develop with that in the future. Stephen Donoghue comes in and says Bernardo will be a good one to get over the line with a buy clause. Mark McQueen says Luis Palma gives him a good feeling. And Stephen Donoghue came back and said Benfica made 13 million out of Jota, and then Seamus Gallagher sort of echoing what I'm saying here. It's good to keep in with clubs that help Celtic, and they can help them in the long run. Hopefully that can continue, but that is the club that you target for your young talent then, and use that option to buy, because it's not out with your financial parameters. That's what I mean.
Yeah, because the fee will be agreed beforehand between the two sides. That's an okay option. Otherwise, there wouldn't be an option in there, because the teams wouldn't negotiate a fee and they wouldn't have got to that conclusion. So it makes sense. I also think it helps in the opposite sense. If a player doesn't have the right fit for the club, then the option to buy, because it isn't compulsory, it means that they can send the player back early. I think that Jens had a good first half to the season, but it was important that option to buy wasn't compulsory. He could go back, and then he did get more game time at Schalke, which then earned his move to Wolfsburg. So it worked out for him. Don't think it really worked out on the Celtic side of things with regard to the replacement that they brought in as of yet with Kobayashi. But at the same time, it seemed as if Jens wasn't getting that much game time anyway after the World Cup. I don't even think he played a single minute after the World Cup. So
No, he didn't.
Postecoglou made his decision. Same with Abildgaard. The lesser spotted Abildgaard. He was there, and he was. That was a bit of a weird one. But again, option to buy. Try before you buy, I like to call it. It works in both ways, because you've got the opportunity there. These players can earn a permanent move if they do well at the club. Or if it doesn't work out for them, then they're not stuck. Then that means they're not stuck in a move. And I think you maybe seen the negative side of maybe buying a player like a Yeti quickly when they could have easily had a loan with an option to buy. There was a lot of talk at the time that was going to be the case. It was Celtic that then pushed for a permanent move for a Yeti. And we know how that transpired. It looks as if he's on his way out, although that's not been confirmed yet. But I think it's so much better that Celtic cover themselves now with a loan with an option to buy, because it helps them on the pitch with the quality of player and off the pitch in terms of profits if they do buy them and then sell them on again.
Indeed, almost 700 people, Ryan, joining us live today, so we thank you for that. We thank you for
everybody. Really do appreciate it.
Putting your comments in. Regards to Abildgaard, always thought of that only an excuse term when we spoke about a player and they said he came, he saw, he went away again. I always think I think that kind of sums up all of our Abildgaard Celtic career, doesn't it?
Sounds very much like Wakaso as well. Do you remember Wakaso? He only seemed to play in the Europa League games. He never played in the league, but then he would play in the Europa League games. But we'll always have that goal against who was it? Was it Salzburg? The daisy cutter on that just it was just what a swerve on it. But these players sometimes it just isn't the right fit for a player. They'll come in, they'll not make much of an impact. They'll make a small impact and then go back to their parent club. No harm done. But not every player fits into Celtic, and that's to be expected. Every player's different, and if everybody fit in with Celtic, then who knows the sort of players that Celtic could have got. But you've just got to find that perfect fit.
Too greedy to ask for a left back to come in, Ryan? Is that
absolutely not?
Chance in the barrel? No, absolutely not. Would that be? I mean, I put out a tweet last night saying, has the mood music changed since last night in terms of or heading into Sunday? If Celtic sign Palma, they bring in that Phillips, they bring in Bernardo. Lila Bada signs a longer term contract. If Hatate signs a longer term deal as well, would the mood music change heading into Sunday? And lots of people said no, they still wanted a goalkeeper, a left back, and a striker. So lots of people doing that again. Graham Martin, striker. Stephen Donegal, goalkeeper and left back. Now I know you're firmly in the left bank camp, Ryan. Yeah. So assuming that Phillips and Bernardo get done, you still want more. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, just on that note, I think young Ryan and myself are busying ourselves up for a Friday night.
Get the yellow tie out. Yeah,
get the yellow tie out. Yeah.
I'll need to go to Slater's after this and get spotted for that. Either that or I'll give Jim White a call and see if I can borrow his.
Yeah, I think we're doing a 10 o'clock at night to 12 midnight show just after midnight when the window shuts. So we'll keep you posted on that, but keep on your notifications. But it's certainly looking like a 10 o'clock to past 12 when the window shut show on tomorrow night. Saying Friday, tomorrow night that'll be. So make sure you're around for that. And if you want to come and join us, we'll be all over social media and seeing exactly what's happening live as players come in or deals are done. But we'll also chit-chat about lots of other stuff as well. We can go over the Champions League draw as well. And if you just come and join us in the chat, we'd like your company, because it could be lonely. 10 o'clock to the 12 o'clock shift on Friday night, Ryan?
Yeah, absolutely. Comments are very, very much welcomed, especially on that night. We'll do our best, or we'll endeavour to answer as many as we can, if not all of them, if they come through. If you're giving up your your free time to come and watch us, then I think the least we can do is read your comments, especially later on at night. So if you are interested, then please just keep a watch on the YouTube channel, and you'll see when we're scheduled to go. It should be about 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock, 10 o'clock to midnight on Friday for a deadline day special. I don't know how busy Celtic are going to be on the deadline, but you never know. These things change, and they change in an instant. So if you are interested, then please join us on Friday night if you're not too busy.
Steve McGrory said he was going to join us, Ryan. So
we've got one.
We'll get one viewer, and that was my response. At least we'll have one viewer. Francis PC Green is in. Nice one, Francis. Thank you.
It's nice to know you won't be shouting into an echo chamber.
Yes. Rebel Double X. We'll be here. Seamus Gallagher, get the bag of cans. There you go. So Friday night supper ready. Hazel Finn, brilliant. Brown Warrior also giving us a thumbs up there, Ryan. So guys, we'd love your company. We'll just shoot the breeze and talk about Celtic. Anne-Marie Wilson, see you there tomorrow night. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Stephen Donoghue saying we'll all be there. So brilliant. Friday night like Sarah. So I say we'd love your company. We'll do our best to keep it going, see what's happening. We'll talk all things Celtic. But it just seems to be that it's shaping up to be a busy couple of days, Ryan.
That's what we wanted. I think that's exactly what we wanted, and things weren't really going as quickly as I expected them to. Even as far back as, or even as soon as yesterday, I was tweeting yesterday saying that I thought that the business was a bit too slow, but you never know what's happening in the background. It seems that Celtic have evidently been really busy in the background, making deals happen. They'll be aware as much as anybody that the team needed reinforcements. They need a midfield player with a bit of guile on there when Haggerty isn't available. They need a centre-back due to the injuries. I think, and what I tweeted about yesterday, I was tweeting a lot yesterday, but you find yourself tweeting when there's a lot of good news coming out of Celtic. When there's more good news than bad news, I think it's important to tweet, because it's so easy to go and moan and criticise when things aren't going well. So when you do hear a bit of good news, I think it's important to keep the positivity up as well. It's all about trying to find that balance between the two. But when all these defenders are back, because Celtic round about October, November time will find that there is an influx of defenders coming back into the squad. Is there maybe an opportunity for a back three to be utilised in some games? Because they'll have the personnel to do so.
I certainly think that'll be uppermost in the manager's mind, won't it? I think that's why he's recruiting another central defender, but a central defender of repute. He did say he wanted 4 fiercely competitive centre halves. He's probably going to have more than that, but I'd rather have that than not have it, Ryan, to be honest. And I think that's projection forward. You're maybe thinking, they could play a back three for Champions League stuff, something like that. You could maybe say, I was going to say experiment. We don't want to be experimenting, but you know what I mean in terms of 3 central defenders in there type thing.
If that was the case, I would expect Celtic to be better at set pieces, especially with a guy like Luis Palma coming in who can put a ball into the box.
Well,
that you put the 2 and 2 together, it's like a bit of a chemical reaction. If you put Nawrowski, Lagerbielke and Phillips into the one team, that's just under 19 feet worth of centre backs. That you've got to take that to your advantage.
You've got to win a header then, haven't you, from a corner or a free kick?
You still won't, but that's
the danger there, haven't you? Yeah, indeed. Now, I just wanted to mention a guy who myself and Des McLean mentioned on the podcast the other week, and I phoned him yesterday and he asked me to put out a message to lots of Celtic supporters. It's a comedian called Pat Rolink who took a stroke a couple of months ago, but he has made a wonderful, or he's starting to make a wonderful recovery, and he's a really good friend of mine. But he said to put out there on the Celtic Way that he's been so touched and humbled by the amounts of visitors, messages of support that he's received since he's been recovering a couple of months. He was in Monklands and he was in a poor condition, I'll say that. But he's got his speech back, and I was talking away and laughing away on the phone with him yesterday. But he wanted me to thank all the Celtic family that's rallied around him and his family, and get that message out there that he'll be back. He's hoping to go back to Celtic games sooner rather than later, and he's watching the podcast today because he was told for cognitive reasons, in terms of your recovery, watching podcasts is good. So, hello, Pat. How are you? Good to talk to you yesterday. And yeah, he wanted just to say thank you to every member of the Celtic family that's been kind to him. And he's also signed up to do the Kilt Walk for Spirit Aid
Oh,
2024.
absolutely brilliant.
So, yeah. So if you know Pat, you'll know who I'm talking about. And larger than life comedian who on the circuit, good friend with Des McLean. He's played in Vegas. He's played Carnegie Hall in New York. He's a wonderful fellow, and he's never tired. He's never tires of doing good deeds. And yeah, so I just wanted to wish him all the best as well. And I'm sure everybody in the Celtic way echoes that sentiment in the chat. And if you know him, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. So just wanted to put that out there and hope he's watching, as he said. And I shall see you soon, fella. There you
Yeah,
go.
echo everything that you said there. Get well soon, Pat. I
Yeah.
hope you do well in your recovery, and I hope you're enjoying the show today. And hopefully we're helping as well. It's good. It's good that podcasts can have that effect on people, that positive effect on people. It makes it worth it at the same
It's
time. As well.
wonderful, that, isn't it? You know, that you could make a difference to someone in their recovery and their rehabilitation. So, yeah, that's quite humbling to think that's happening. But yeah, I'm excited, Ryan. I'm trying to keep a tin lid on it for today. We'll be back at some point today, won't we?
I think so.
To do a kind of, well, we'll have a run through the group and see who we get in the group stage draw. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Celtic's chances. We'll talk about where they're headed. But it's always a pleasure and an honour and a privilege when Celtic are in that draw and you get the chance to do this and talk about the teams that they could be facing and the players. And I love it. I relish it. I just relish being in the competition alongside. And we're ever the eternal optimists and dreamers, aren't we? They did it once in '67. You know what I mean? I know that it's slanted very much against them ever doing it again in modern day football, but hope springs eternal and all that, doesn't it? I mean,
Absolutely.
we've gone nearly 48 minutes, Ryan. We've not even touched upon the Ibrox game. Amazing, eh?
I know. We've got
we'll leave all that for tomorrow. Do you think?
I think that's probably for the best, and we'll definitely talk about it more in the 10 o'clock show as well, for sure. I think that'll be more of a preview as well. It'll be a deadline day, but we'll also talk about the elephant in the room, which is the game on Sunday. But yeah, I think it's quite appropriate that today was more focused on the European draw, because that is what's happening later on. It is the talk of the town. Celtic are in the group stages. It should be a positive thing. Celtic are flying the flag in the Champions League for Scotland, so it is the main story today. I think.
Yeah, of course it is.
I think the countdown is on now until the programme starts and everyone can take their seats and maybe watch from behind the couch or walk behind their eyes at who Celtic get. But that's just the fun of it. We look forward to it every season, and this year is no different.
Alan Robertson, loving the positivity. There's a buzz about this podcast. A la Paul McStay, there's a buzz about this place. And Mark McQueen referenced this when we were talking about tomorrow night's show from 10 till midnight. And he said, we're there and we're always there, channeling his inner Tommy Burns. I love that, Mark. Thank you. And I love the fact that so many of you said you're going to join us tomorrow night. Said before, can't do it without you. We love the fact that you get involved. We try and get you involved. We'll let you have your say as well. I'm always of the opinion that you expand your own football knowledge when you do that. You listen to others, you hear their opinions, and it's always the way I've worked my journalistic life. There is no right or wrong in these kind of situations, just opinions, and you disseminate information and opinions the way you want, but everybody's entitled to theirs, and we try and flick up as many opinions as we want, or as we can, and we like that because it's a broad church, as the Celtic family, as they say, Ryan.
Certainly is, yeah. I think you can learn every day from people's different opinions, and if everybody had the same opinion, the world would be quite a boring place. So, yeah, I think the more you listen and you hear about people's different outlooks on life and on football in general, then the more you can learn, the more you can expand your knowledge on the game. The more opinions, the better, because it helps us as a podcast as well, because we're not talking about the same thing every day. There's always something new to talk about, which brings about freshness, which is always good.
It's just the tie that binds, though, isn't it? The wonderful entity that is Celtic Football Club. And you'll see myself and Ryan back sometime between 5 and 6. Just look out for your notifications. We'll try and get it on as quickly once the draw's done. But you know what these draws are like. The preamble is, I was going to say it's longer than the Gettysburg Address, but allegedly the Gettysburg Address wasn't that long.
Very short,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, so there's
you see the two of us,
it's long,
unless
yeah.
you'll see the two of us unless Napoli come out of the hat in pot 1, in which case you'll probably see Tony on on every single flight company website on the planet.
Sky Scanner.
Sky Scanner. That was, thank you. I was thinking about the word that I was looking for there. Yeah, but Sky Scanner will be getting hammered on your computer.
Or I'll be driving calf in hand to the boss's house to say, please.
I've heard of Oliver Twist, not Tony Twist.
Yeah. Please, sir, can I go to Napoli? Yeah, Pete McGee coming in. Every day is a school day. Yeah, I'm aware of that. Gettysburg Address for like 10 minutes, Tony. Yeah. Indeed, the preamble in the Grimaldi Forum will not be 10 minutes. I can guarantee you that. They just go off their nut with these things, don't they? And present all sorts of awards and, drag it out for as long as they can. But we shall be back. I'll be back with this wonderful trophy. Thanks again to John Flanagan and his wonderful partner Claire. I'm sure they're getting betrothed soon. I'm sure they said that they're getting married soon. So hope that is a wonderful day for them as well. But yeah, he lent me this. It's a thing of beauty, Ryan. That's all I can say about it, really.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's one of the iconic items in Celtic's history, or one of the iconic items. When I see that trophy, when I see it getting lifted by different teams every year, and I'm a bit biased in saying this, but I think of Celtic, I think of Billy McNeill lifting that. The most iconic trophy lifting, I think, in football history was him lifting that at Lisbon.
John Clark said that. I spoke to John Clark on the anniversary of the Lisbon Lions winning the trophy on May the 15th, and John Clark said to me that it's one of the most iconic sporting photos in history, and it is. Because of where Billy McNeill is standing and he's situated, he does look like an emperor, and just presenting or celebrating and lifting that. I mean, it's an iconic trophy lift. It's just it's just a wonderful snapshot and frame of time. And it's and the guys are responsible for everything that's
massive.
That happens now.
Absolutely
They defined the modern day Celtic, the Lisbon Lions, and the enormity of what they did still hits home every year. Celtic still reaping a financial benefit from that. And as I say, I applaud Timms on social media last night, that Twitter,
for a great idea.
The suggestion that some of that money that the Lisbon Lions earn through the coefficient points should go to the remaining survivors of the Lisbon Lions and their families. I think that would be the gesture of all gestures from Celtic, and I would pray that happens. I would really like to see that happening. So I applaud Timms for that suggestion and putting it out on social media and raising awareness of that, because I think that alongside the 1030 tunnel, that I think the tunnel at Celtic Park should be called the 1030 tunnel. I think that's a wonderful idea. So I hope that happens, Timms, as well, and well done. I think Celtic supporters would be thoroughly behind that.
Yeah, I think with some of the losses that we've felt in the past 4, 5, 6 years, with regard to people or Lisbon Lions, such massive personalities in the club. You think Stevie Chalmers, Billy McNeill, Bertie Auld most recently, you've really got to appreciate these guys even more, because they're an incredible bunch. The story that goes behind the Lisbon Lions, the amount of distance that it was only Saltcoats was the furthest out. They were all within a radius of Glasgow. That will never ever happen again. I can almost guarantee you, unless a team like Athletic Club won the Champions League, which seems a bit unlikely. Something like that will never ever happen again. I always remember Vincent Kompany, who's a modern player, talking about the Lisbon Lions. He was watching the documentary that was on Sky Sports at the time, and he was completely enamoured by the whole story. And seeing a guy that was such a colossus in the modern game paying homage to Billy McNeil, who was a colossus back in that time, I think it's a great coming together, and it shows that football's really universal, and their memory has got to be preserved, and I'm sure it will, because it's just an incredible story.
I always reference Hugh McIlvanney's quote that Celtic won the European Cup with a Glasgow District 11. It's
true.
When you shrink that down to its component parts and the enormity of that, that such a small, tiny geographical part of the world could produce the European champions and an ace away from being the world champions, a Glasgow District 11. It's just one of the best expressions ever of Celtic's
an incredible
achievement. The best. I aspire to that every day and will always fall well below that high bar. But I keep aspiring, Ryan, and I think that's as long as you get pushing, the ambition in you to aspire to that, then maybe one day you hope you'll hit that bar at some point in your life. But just the wordsmith of all wordsmiths, just a genius, absolute genius.
Just before we go off, Tony, if I could just get you quickly, I want to hear your ideal draw before the draw actually happens. I want your top three, and then I'll maybe give my top three.
Okay, right. I've already said I want Napoli from pot one, right? But that's just a personal and selfish reasons, and people might not like that. But ideally, in that, I want Feyenoord or Benfica. Right? Okay. So
because we don't need to worry about the Benfica boy coming in, and being cup tied, because that just doesn't happen. Remember the Courtois incident with Chelsea in the past.
So for selfish reasons, Napoli, because I want to go to the Diego Armando Maradona Stadium. Everybody knows how I feel about Diego Armando Maradona, iconic hero of all time, photograph on the first book, all that kind of stuff. So that's a personal, sentimental heartstring tugger for your old dad here, but practical, and I'm going to be practical, I'll say Feyenoord or Benfica. And then this pot two, Porto, want Porto. Failing that, a Battle of Britain, because I think they might be up for it. I think they would relish preferably Man U.
Take Man United at the moment. I would agree with that.
So, and then pot three, Copenhagen or Red Star.
I'd probably go on the side of Copenhagen more than Red Star, because that's a bit of a nightmare of a place to get to with regard to, I think there's been problems in the past with Red Star, I know that for sure. But really good side as well. But there's no easy draws. There's no easy draws in this whatsoever.
That's your ideal. I want to avoid Barcelona. Played them too many times. Bayern Munich are the same.
Man City are probably the same as well.
Yeah, but I think again they could rise to the occasion against Manchester City. That 3-3 game against Manchester City at Celtic Park's one of the best games I've witnessed in a long, long time. It's up there with the Juventus game. Celtic won 4-3. The Nakamura free kick against Manchester United. Obviously the Barcelona Tony Watt 2-1. Iconic Champions League moments for Celtic. So if they get Man City, they get Man City. But it'll just, the team will play vastly different. There'll be a vastly different approach. It's just exciting. Pot two, Porto leaps out at you because you just think, right, okay, doable. You know what I mean? The rest are, would you fancy Dortmund? Or Dortmund not firing all cylinders, not the force that they once were? Yeah.
Well, they don't have that the big Norwegian up front.
Yeah. Of
So,
course.
and they don't have arguably the best young talent in football just now, who they sold to Real Madrid, and Jude Bellingham, who is the real deal. You know, you hear a lot about hype with certain players, but
Yeah.
Jude Bellingham is certainly the real deal. So they're maybe a weaker team without him. That is for sure. I would say Man United, not the force that maybe once were. I think
Yeah.
they're struggling under Ten Hag. They're getting results, but Inter Milan, maybe not the same force. I know they were the Champions League finalists last season,
Yeah.
but again, no Lukaku. They've lost players in the summer. Teams to maybe avoid in pot two: Arsenal, Real Madrid. Real Madrid. I think Madrid have got a young core now. They've got the
Yeah.
young midfield coming through. Valverde was incredible last season against Celtic in both ties. Arsenal really good. So yeah, Leipzig probably want to take as well because they've lost their revolving door.
Yeah.
They've lost Nkunku and they've lost Szoboszlai. So no
We
easy
revenge
draws, as I
mission
always
where
say.
we revenge mission against Leipzig for chance.
Yeah,
No.
absolutely. I think, especially in the home game, the away game, Celtic shot themselves in the foot. They go,
Yeah.
Joe Hart gave the ball back to
Yes,
their
exactly.
danger men, and they're gonna take chances when they arise to them. So yeah, Leipzig could be a more favourable one. It seems we can't get away from Marco Rose at the moment, so I wouldn't be surprised if that was to be the case.
Yeah, I mean we will find that out in the fullness of time. We shall see.
Don't want PSV in pot three. After watching them yesterday, they looked like a team possessed last night, especially on the attacking front. A couple of their players looked really good. Sangare, Noah Lang,
Yeah,
the boy up front whose name escapes me, the Moroccan boy, he was incredible. And there was another guy, Joey Veerman, best player in the park, both games, I would say. Yeah,
was the other one Sabari, was it not?
Sabari, that's the one.
Sabari, yeah.
I know there's a Sangari in the
There's a
midfield
Sangari
who
and a
was
Sabari, isn't there? Yeah, Sabari was
yeah,
Moroccan up front. Yeah,
he looked absolutely incredible last night. Really good team, but Veerman really stood out as well. So maybe a team that we can avoid. You could play them maybe at home, but away from home, they would be a bit of a going into the lines then.
yeah. As you say, there are no
Bakayoko as
easy
well.
there
Yeah,
are no easy draws, are there? So yeah, we shall. It'll all come out in the
Celtic will take
fullness of
whoever.
time. Yeah, correct. It's wonderful to be there, and you earn that by winning the title every year, and you earn the right to be in there. That draw with some real heavyweights. So
One
looking
thing I would say
forward to
about
the
pot
draw.
three, Celtic could challenge all of those teams in pot three and quite a few of the teams in pot two, I would say as well. I know there's some big names in pot two, but they're maybe not. There's a reason why they're in pot two rather than pot one. Some of these teams, because they're not as strong as what they once were, teams that you would expect to be in pot one, just maybe due to bad transfers, due to a bad season, they're in pot two. But in pot three, there's a lot of teams that Celtic could come up against and give a good game, especially at home. But they'll take on whoever at home. And this is the reason why Brendan Rodgers is back at the club, to push the team forward in a European sense. So, Celtic will take whoever. But I'm sure we'll be back to discuss who we get in more detail once it happens.
I'll touch this to give us a bit of luck there, Ryan, hopefully in the draw. All right, fella.
We've got Man City then. You've just given us Man City. Cheers, Tony.
We shall see what happens. Guys, thanks for your company today. Really enjoyed it. We'll see you 5 o'clock-ish round about then, or whenever the draw's concluding. Yeah, 5-ish shy for the benefit of Peak Meet G, 5-ish. Yeah, indeed. But hopefully you can join us and we'll discuss who Celtic get in the Champions League draw. Luis Palma's in the window, in the building even. We look forward to seeing if Nat Phillips and Bernardo join them. Hopefully Paulo Bernardo join them today. Here's hoping Celtic can do some transfer business as well. But there you go. Take care. Just before we go, as we always say, we want you to subscribe to the Celtic Way website and help support top quality football journalism, covering the club you love, all for the click of a button, guys. £4 for 4 months. You visit www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. I'm going to try and negotiate my way out of here without letting that trophy fall to the floor, Ryan. Might be a bit difficult, but hey, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, thank you for your contribution, Ryan. Stellar as always, guys. Thanks for your contributions in the chat. It was a busy old chat today. Enjoy the draw. we'll be on to discuss it at some point later on. We get who we get. End of story. But here's hoping there's more transfer business to talk about too.
You're in it.
Take care.
You're in it. That's the main thing.
Yeah, correct. You're in it. There you go. Thank you very much. Guys, we'll see you later on today. Have a good one. And we'll speak to you then. Take care.
Cheers, guys.